Have you ever felt that even though you've tried so hard to be a capable, successful, gentle and strong woman, there's still something missing deep inside? Do you sometimes hear a faint voice in the midst of life's noise, as if a part of you is being forgotten? And have you ever asked yourself, maybe true confidence doesn't come from being acknowledged by others, but from embracing myself? If you've ever felt that way, then this video is for you. Welcome to the channel where we explore the timeless insights of psychology, philosophy, and ancient intelligence to better understand ourselves and the journey of being human. Today, we'll walk together on a special journey. The journey to find your inner child, the very soul of authentic feminine confidence, as the great psychoanalyst Carl Jung once discovered. Deep within your soul, there is a small, quiet little girl waiting to be seen. She is the child you once were, still holding the map to your true strength. Not a strength that comes from appearances or status, but an unshakable confidence that blooms when you live as your truest self. No masks, no pretenses. But over the years, her voice was buried under the you must, you should, and countless roles and expectations. You've learned to stay silent. You've forgotten what once made you dream, what once made you feel joy in simply being yourself. Carl Jung didn't call this poetic. He called it one of the most profound psychological truths. Now imagine, you're a successful woman with a stable job, a complete family, and social recognition. But sometimes, you feel like you're wearing a mask. Everything seems fine, but inside, there's a void you can't name. You may be living well, but you're not living truthfully. Jung once said, "We don't become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." And that darkness in the modern woman's soul is the forgotten inner child. Do you remember the last time you truly felt alive? Maybe it was when you danced alone in your room, when you spoke your mind despite trembling, or when you helped a friend through pain without needing anyone's recognition. Those moments were the light of your inner child, untouched, fearless, and real. Jung called that part of us the unconscious, but not a dark or scary place. On the contrary, he saw it as a treasure chest that holds everything you need to feel whole again. And the truth is that unconscious is always whispering to you. Through dreams you can't explain, through the tiredness after seeing someone, through that quiet intuition telling you, "I'm losing myself." Have you noticed those signs? If not, today is the day to begin. Ask yourself, how many times have you said yes when you wanted to say no, just to keep the peace? How often have you sacrificed your own needs because you believed you should endure? And how many times have you stayed silent while your heart was screaming, "I don't want this"? Every time you do that, you turn your back on the little girl inside who desperately needs your protection. But don't feel sad, because that little girl is still there. She's not angry at you. Waiting for you to turn around, take her hand, and say, "From today on, I will listen to you. You are worthy. You deserve to live as your true self." That's not imagination. It's a healing practice Jung used with his patients to help them reconnect with their fractured soul. Do you remember the last time you truly felt like yourself? Share that moment in the comments below. It may be your first step in returning to your essence. Dear listener, when we begin to hear the voice of the inner child, we also begin to open a new door, a doorway into what Carl Jung called the shadow of the soul, the place that... Imagine a woman in a long-term relationship. Her partner loves her, but frequently makes her doubt herself. You're being too sensitive. You should know better. At first, she lets it slide, because she loves him, because she doesn't want conflict. But over time, she begins to doubt herself. She looks in the mirror and wonders, am I really the one at fault? Jung called this projection, when someone else unknowingly touches your deep inner fear, magnifying it. But at the same time, It's a plea from your inner child saying, "I'm no longer happy. Please choose differently." First, take a deep breath. The fact that you're still here, reading or listening, means you've already taken a brave step toward facing your pain. Don't rush to blame yourself. Don't rush to blame the other person either. This is not a battle. It is a conversation between you and your true self. Ask yourself, what am I sacrificing in order to maintain this relationship? Maybe it's your voice, your joy, your peace. When you answer that honestly, clarity will follow, and you'll know which side to stand on. Start with something small, a dialogue with your inner child. Close your eyes. Imagine sitting face to face with a younger version of yourself. She looks sad, in need of your attention. Ask her, "What do you need from me?" And listen. She might say, "I need you to protect me," or "I want you to choose me just once." Then act. Maybe that means setting a boundary, saying no to what hurts you. Or maybe it means letting go of something you know no longer belongs to your soul. Jung once said, "We do not truly possess anything except our own authentic nature." So you don't need to keep holding on to everything. Some things only weigh you down, like a backpack full of stones you've been carrying for years without knowing why you're so tired. Now imagine putting that backpack down. Can you feel the relief? You might let go of a relationship that's no longer sincere, let go of guilt that was never yours, let go of a role you no longer wish to play. What are you carrying right now that's weighing you down? Try writing it down in your journal or in the comment section below this video. You can begin with a simple sentence. I'm ready to let go of. I'm learning to choose myself. Share it with compassion, because your words might be what another woman needs to hear today. And when you let go of the right thing, something magical happens. Your energy returns. Your inner child begins to smile again, free, light, joyful. And from that space, true confidence is born, not from outside approval, but from deep inner acceptance. Dear listener, we often think that feminine confidence means strength, poise, or the image of a woman walking into a room and turning every head. But Carl Jung revealed a very different truth. True confidence doesn't come from how you appear, but from whether you dare to live as your most authentic self. It's not about being perfect. It's about being real. From a young age, many of us were taught to be proper, to be gentle, caring, patient, self-sacrificing, always smiling, never complaining. Over time, we grow up wearing masks, always trying to please others. But Jung reminds us, if you keep becoming who others want you to be, you will eventually forget who you really are. True confidence is saying, I'm tired, setting boundaries with what hurts you, and accepting, I'm not perfect, but I am real. Think of a woman you know, maybe a sister, a mother, or a friend, someone who is simple, not flashy, yet when she speaks, everyone listens. What makes her so magnetic? Not because she's flawless, but because she's authentic. Her words align with her feelings. No roles, no pretending. Carl Jung called this integration of the self. When you stop fragmenting yourself to please others and instead embrace both your light and your shadow, living in harmony with it all. How do you know if you're living authentically? Ask yourself, am I truly smiling or just trying to look okay for others? Do I dare express my opinions even when no one agrees? Do I feel at peace alone? Or do I only feel worthy when someone praises me? If you find that you're living more for others' expectations than your own truth, don't judge yourself. We've all been there, but today can be the first step to returning to yourself. Right now, are you wearing a mask to please the world? If you feel comfortable, Share in the comments. I'm learning to take off the mask, or I want to live more honestly with myself. You're not alone in this journey. And sometimes, just one word from you may reach the heart of someone who is exhausted from trying to be enough. Confidence isn't about not being afraid. It's about moving forward, even while afraid. Don't wait until the fear disappears before you live truthfully. Remember, even the strongest people have felt scared. The difference is, they moved anyway, with a sincere heart. Feminine confidence is when you can say, I'm not perfect. I'm still healing. But I honor my true self, and I will no longer abandon her. Dear listener, Carl Jung once said something truly magical. And if you understand this, everything in your life may begin to change. When you live in alignment with your true self, the universe begins to respond. It may sound abstract, but in fact, it's very real. Jung called it synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that occur when you begin living authentically, as if life itself is cheering you on. Have you ever experienced this? For example, you're thinking about changing jobs, and the next day a friend calls inviting you to a new opportunity, or you're unsure about leaving an unhealthy relationship, and suddenly you come across a video, a quote, or a book right when you need it most. Jung described this as a dialogue between the unconscious and the universe. And here's the key: the universe can only respond when you're being honest with yourself. When you say, that's enough. When you dare to let go of what hurts you. When you say, I deserve better. New doors begin to open. Not because you're dreaming, but because your life energy is finally being released. In that moment, your inner child smiles, because at last, you chose her, not the world. A true story. A woman once shared, she had always wanted to learn how to paint since childhood, but because her family didn't support it, she buried that dream for over 20 years. One day, after going through a mental breakdown, she began painting every evening, not for money, not for success. Just to be herself. 3 months later, a friend introduced her to a small art exhibit. Her work was noticed and she began teaching art classes for children, something she never imagined doing. She didn't plan to succeed. She simply returned to herself. And the universe responded in the most gentle way. Synchronicity happens when your inner state aligns with your actions. You may sense it in small, everyday moments. When you turn down an invitation because you know you need to rest. When you say something true, even if you might be misunderstood. When you stop chasing and start attracting. All of these are signs that your soul is speaking, and the universe is listening. Have you ever experienced a meaningful coincidence the moment you began to live more truthfully? If so, share it in the comments. I changed this, and then this beautiful thing happened. You never know, your story could be the guiding light for someone else who's feeling lost. Believe this, the universe is always ready to support you as long as you are honest. Carl Jung wasn't just a psychoanalyst. He believed that the human soul is never alone, that there's an invisible connection between what's inside us and the world around us. And every time you take one step toward truth, the universe takes 10 steps toward you. Dear listener, many people talk about self-love, but self-love isn't just a slogan to hang on a wall. As Carl Jung implied, self-love is a decision we make every day, expressed through small, seemingly simple actions. Self-love is not selfish. It's the foundation for every other kind of love. In today's society, women are often taught to love others first, their children, parents, partners, friends, co-workers. But Jung once said, "You cannot give what you do not have." If you are empty inside, the love you give becomes an effort rather than a natural flow. Have you ever felt exhausted, irritated, resentful, and then blamed yourself for not being good enough? The truth is, you're likely just missing one thing: care from your own self. Small actions with great power. Self-love doesn't have to be about spa days, shopping, or fancy vacations. Sometimes it's as simple as sitting quietly for 10 minutes in the morning to listen to your breath. Eating a meal you genuinely enjoy, not one chosen for someone else's preference. Writing down 3 things you're grateful for, even on a difficult day. Saying no when you truly want to, without needing to justify it. Each of these actions sends a message to your inner child. You matter. You deserve to be loved. A real-life story. One young woman lost direction after a painful breakup. Every day felt empty and aimless, but instead of looking for someone else to fill the void, she chose to return to herself. She wrote letters to herself each morning. Just a few lines, but filled with gentle honesty. She learned to cook simple meals. She went to the park to read without needing anyone by her side. 3 months later, she said, "I no longer feel lonely. I've started enjoying my own presence." A question for you. Are you giving yourself even 15 minutes a day to simply be with yourself? Are you listening to your true emotions, or are you trying to please others at your own expense? What is one small act you can begin today? Share in the comments one action you'll take today to show love to yourself. It might be, "Today, I'll go to bed early. I won't check my phone during meals. I'll write myself a loving note." You'll be surprised. Just one small gesture can shift your mood for the whole day. And who knows, by sharing, you might inspire another woman to start loving herself too. Self-love is the seed of everything beautiful. Jung never taught us to be tough so we don't get hurt. He taught us to be honest with our emotions and to care for them rather than run from them. Self-love doesn't isolate you from others. On the contrary, it makes your connections more genuine because you no longer love from fear, but from wholeness. Dear listener, there is one truth that Carl Jung always emphasized. There is no awakening without going through darkness. We are often taught to avoid pain, to suppress sadness, to hide anger, but Jung taught the opposite. Face them, because within them lies the key to your liberation. Pain doesn't come to break you, it comes to transform you. Have you ever gone through a time when it felt like everything fell apart? A breakup, a betrayal, a failure that made you question your worth? In those moments, we often feel the weakest. And yet, if you have the courage to stop running, you will notice something powerful waking up inside you. Jung called this the process of transformation from darkness to light. A very real example, a woman once shared that after her divorce she felt completely lost, but instead of rushing into another relationship, she chose to turn inward. She wrote down every wound, every unhealed pain. She cried without shame. She got angry without denying it, and day by day, she became clearer about what hurt her and what made her feel alive. A year later, she started a support group for divorced women, not to teach, but simply to share what she had overcome. Pain is a mirror, reflecting what still needs healing. Jung said that whatever you don't face will continue to control you from the shadows. Jealousy might be the voice of a part of you that has never felt seen. Fear of abandonment might be a wounded inner child calling out for care. Anger might be the sign of a boundary you haven't yet dared to draw. When you face these feelings, name them and embrace them. They no longer control you. You become your own guide. Right now, is there something within you that feels unresolved or unsettled? Try sharing in the comments. You don't need to say everything, just begin with one line, like, "I'm learning to to face. I've realized my fear is naming your pain. That alone can be the first act of healing. When you walk through the darkness, your inner light begins to rise. Carl Jung never taught us to be strong by hiding our pain. He taught us to be whole by embracing both our light and our shadows. And you know what? The truest feminine confidence doesn't come from never being hurt. It comes from this: you still rise. You still love. You still shine, even after being broken. Dear listener, have you ever asked yourself, why was I born? This isn't just a philosophical question. For Carl Jung, it is the gateway back to your true soul, the deepest part of you that was buried beneath societal expectations, obligations, and the roles others assigned to you. Purpose doesn't come from the outside. It's a calling from within. You don't need a prestigious career, a successful business, or a perfect role in society to have value. Jung emphasized, your purpose is not to become what others expect, but to become yourself fully. Purpose isn't something you have to force yourself to find. It's something that naturally reveals itself when you peel away what you are not. When you live authentically, your inner world blossoms. Imagine a child dancing alone in a room without anyone watching. She's not afraid of being judged. She doesn't seek approval. She's simply alive in her own truth. Jung called this the expression of a free soul, no longer ruled by ego or fear. When you live in alignment with your true self, you stop comparing yourself to others. You stop doing things out of obligation and start doing them out of love. You no longer need the world to understand you, because you understand yourself. A story to inspire you. A woman once worked in finance for 15 years. She was respected and competent, but every morning her soul felt like it was slowly dying. One day, she remembered, as a child, she loved to draw. So, she began again. 15 minutes after work, then 30 minutes, then an hour. She didn't quit her job right away, but over time, she reconnected with her essence. She started an art sharing page and connected with others who had also buried their passions. She didn't just rediscover her inner child, she also found her trust in life again. Do you remember something you used to love doing as a child? Write it in the comments. Maybe you used to sing, cook, write stories, dance, or plant trees. Sharing what you once loved may awaken someone else's sleeping soul. When you live with purpose, there's nothing to prove. Carl Jung never taught us to be perfect. He simply reminded us of this: live in a way that makes your soul dance. When you do what you love, even without an audience, even without a reward, that's when you've touched the deepest kind of confidence. Dear listener, if you've made it to this very moment, it means one thing: your inner child is still quietly waiting, waiting for you to pause, waiting for you to listen, waiting for you to come home. Throughout life, you may have pushed yourself to grow up, to be strong, to fulfill your roles as a wife, a mother, a daughter, a sister. But that inner child, the innocent, radiant, soulful part of you, never truly disappeared. She still lives. Beneath the dust of time, she lives in your eyes when you see something beautiful. She lives in your laughter when you're truly joyful. She lives in the ache you feel when you're abandoned, not because you're weak, but because you still know how to love. When you embrace her, you become your most whole self. Carl Jung once said, "We do not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious." Your inner child is the brightest part of you, and also the most tender. When you return to her, when you listen, when you begin to heal, you don't just help yourself. you become a source of peace for the world. Right now, if something deep inside you has stirred, share it in the comments. I realized I've been denying. I want to embrace my inner child by... You never know. Your words might be the light someone else is waiting for. Ending is a beginning. You don't need to be perfect to begin the journey home to yourself. You just need to say yes to listening. You just need to give yourself one chance to love the part of you that's been forgotten. And when you do, your confidence will no longer be a mask. It will be a gentle light from within, one that makes others feel safe in your presence. Final blessing. Thank you and peace to you. Thank you for listening all the way to the end. If this video touched you, please subscribe. Share this video with someone you care about. Leave a comment about what resonated with you most. We believe that inner light is a flame that can be passed from soul to soul. All it takes is one spark. May you walk in peace, strength, and radiant wholeness on the journey back to your truest self. There is a quiet revolution that begins the moment you stop reacting, not just outwardly, but within. You no longer feel the pull to respond to every message, to fix every misunderstanding, to defend every truth. Something deeper begins to awaken, the understanding that not everything deserves your energy, not every call deserves to be answered, not every provocation is worth your peace. This, Carl Jung understood well. He saw the human psyche not as a machine, but as an energy system. Every thought, every emotion, every word we speak either drains us or nourishes us. So the real question is not whether you're strong or weak. The question is, where is your energy going? How often do we give away pieces of ourselves to arguments we didn't ask for, to people who misunderstand us deliberately, to conversations that echo with emptiness, and we think we're just standing up for ourselves or being kind or staying connected, but all the while we are emptying the well, drop by drop, until one day we realize we have nothing left to give. Jung said, "That which you resist persists." The more you fight for your image, the more trapped you become inside it. The more you try to be understood, the more you feel misunderstood. Because people are not responding to who you truly are. They are responding to their projections of you. And if you keep reacting, they never have to face themselves. They can keep using you as a mirror. And so, the dance goes on. But what happens when you break the rhythm? When you no longer defend your intentions? When you stop trying to be seen and instead simply become? That is when you become dangerous in the most beautiful, powerful way. Because now you are no longer predictable. Now you are no longer controllable. The emotionally needy, the manipulative, the opportunists, they notice, they sense that something in you has shifted, that you are no longer running on the script they wrote for you. You don't answer immediately, you don't explain, you don't rush to fix. And this terrifies them, because your lack of reaction removes their control. The game doesn't work anymore, and so they test you. They provoke you, they accuse you of being cold, distant, selfish, not because you are, but because you stopped being functional for them. There is a kind of strength that comes with stillness, a magnetic energy that does not beg to be noticed, yet is impossible to ignore. You walk into a room and something changes, not because you're loud, but because your energy is intact. You've stopped leaking, you've become whole, and this wholeness, it's not loud, it doesn't shout, it doesn't justify itself, it simply is. People don't know how to respond to it, because they can't manipulate what they can't predict. And so, some may distance themselves, others may try harder to pull you back into old roles. But if you remain rooted, if you stay silent, if you stay sovereign, everything begins to shift. So, pause with me here. Ask yourself, how many times have you given your energy away to explain something that needed no explanation? How many nights have you stayed awake replaying conversations in your head, trying to perfect the past? How many times have you sacrificed your peace for someone else's comfort? Now ask yourself this: what would happen if you didn't? What if this time you didn't respond, didn't explain, didn't try to prove yourself? What if you just stayed silent and let that silence speak for you? Because true power lies in that choice. In the moment when you could react, but choose not to. In the space between stimulus and response, that sacred pause is where your strength lives. Let your silence become your boundary. Let your stillness become your resistance. Let your calm become your roar. Write in the comments, "I no longer explain my peace." And let that be your new mantra.